Have you ever noticed that the people you would sacrifice everything for are sometimes the first ones to walk away? What if the biggest betrayal in your life isn't someone else's disloyalty, but your expectation that they were supposed to stay forever? Stay with me, because by the end of this speech, you'll understand why expecting loyalty is one of the fastest ways to lose your peace, and what to replace it with instead. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, have you ever been disappointed by someone you trusted? Type yes if you've experienced it. We grow up believing that kindness earns loyalty, that if we're honest, supportive, and always there for others, they'll return the favor. It sounds fair. It sounds moral, but life doesn't always operate on fairness. People don't always leave because you were wrong. Sometimes they leave because their priorities changed. Sometimes they leave because they found a better opportunity. Sometimes they leave simply because they wanted something different. None of those reasons require your permission. That's why expecting permanent loyalty from temporary people creates unnecessary suffering. Here's a difficult truth. Most people are loyal to their needs. When those needs change, their behavior often changes too. This doesn't automatically make them evil, it makes them human. The mistake is believing that someone's promise today guarantees their actions tomorrow. Words are easy, consistency is expensive. Instead of listening to what people say, watch what they repeatedly do. Parls never lie. If someone values you, they'll show it over time. If they don't, their actions will reveal that long before their excuses do. The strongest people don't demand loyalty. They create lives that don't collapse when loyalty disappears, because they understand something powerful. Your confidence should come from your character, not from who decides to stay beside you. If you're finding value in this message, take a second to like this video and subscribe. It helps more people discover content that challenges the way they think, and you won't miss future videos like this. Another mistake many people make is confusing loyalty with obligation. No one owes you forever. Friendships change, partnerships change, business relationships change. Even families can grow apart. Accepting this reality doesn't make you cynical. It makes you emotionally prepared. Preparation protects peace. When you stop expecting loyalty as a guarantee, you begin appreciating it as a gift. There's a huge difference. A gift is appreciated. A guarantee is taken for granted. And when the guarantee disappears, so does your emotional stability. Instead of asking, who will always be loyal to me? Ask a better question. Am I becoming someone who can remain calm, focused, and strong, regardless of who stays or leaves? Because that's real power. You cannot control another person's choices, but you can control your standards. You can choose who gets access to your time. You can choose who earns your trust. And you can choose to walk away when actions no longer match words. Remember, trust should be given slowly. Respect should be mutual. And loyalty should never be demanded or expected. It should be recognized when it's earned. The day you stop expecting loyalty from everyone is the day fewer people gain the power to break you. Protect your peace. Value consistency over promises. Build yourself so strongly that whether people stay or leave, you remain standing. Because the strongest person in the room isn't the one surrounded by loyal people. It's the one whose purpose, confidence, and peace don't depend on anyone else's loyalty. Thank you for listening. If this message changed your perspective, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And remember, never build your future on someone else's promise. Build it on your own strength. Loyalty is often portrayed as something permanent, almost sacred, but in reality, it is usually tied to circumstances, shared interests, emotions, and personal priorities. Many people believe that once someone proves loyal, that loyalty will remain unchanged forever. This belief feels comforting, yet it ignores one of the most important truths about human nature. People evolve. Their goals shift, their values change, their responsibilities grow, and their needs transform over time. As these changes occur, their commitment to certain relationships may also change. This does not always happen because they intended to betray anyone. More often, it happens because their focus has moved in a different direction. Think about how friendships begin. Two people may become inseparable because they attend the same school, work in the same office, or pursue the same dream. Their loyalty seems unbreakable because they share common experiences and depend on one another. However, when life takes them onto different paths, the connection often weakens. Their priorities are no longer aligned, and the loyalty that once felt absolute gradually fades. This pattern repeats itself in business, personal relationships, and even within families. The bond survives only as long as both individuals continue to find value, purpose, or emotional meaning in maintaining it. This is why expecting unconditional loyalty from everyone is risky. When your happiness depends on another person's constant commitment, you give them control over your emotional stability. Instead, observe how people behave when circumstances become difficult or when they no longer need something from you. Consistent actions reveal far more than emotional promises made in comfortable moments. A person who repeatedly shows honesty, respect, and reliability deserves appreciation, but even then, recognize that life can change anyone's direction. Viewing loyalty as something influenced by changing circumstances allows you to make wiser decisions, maintain realistic expectations, and protect yourself from unnecessary disappointment, while still valuing those who genuinely choose to stand beside you when they have every reason to walk away. Expectations have a quiet way of shaping our emotions long before reality has a chance to speak. The moment you expect unwavering loyalty from someone, you begin creating an invisible contract in your mind, even if that person never agreed to it. You assume they will always stand by you, defend you, support your decisions, and remain constant regardless of changing circumstances. The problem is that these expectations are built on your hopes, not on guarantees. When reality fails to match the picture you created, disappointment follows, not necessarily because the other person intended to hurt you, but because your expectations exceeded what they were willing or able to give. Many relationships suffer not because of betrayal, but because of assumptions. A friend misses an important moment, a business partner chooses a better opportunity, or someone you trusted begins focusing on their own goals. Instead of seeing these actions as part of life's natural changes, expectations turn them into personal offenses. The pain becomes greater because you believe their loyalty was permanent. In truth, people often make decisions based on their own priorities, responsibilities, fears, or ambitions. Their choices may have little to do with your worth, yet high expectations make every change feel like a direct rejection. This doesn't mean you should become suspicious of everyone or refuse to trust people. It means your trust should be balanced with an understanding of human nature. Appreciate loyalty when it is shown, but avoid assuming it will remain unchanged forever. Healthy relationships grow through mutual respect, honest communication, and consistent actions rather than silent expectations. When you stop demanding certainty from uncertain people, you free yourself from unnecessary emotional burdens. You begin judging relationships by what they truly are instead of what you imagined they would become. Ironically, lowering unrealistic expectations doesn't weaken your relationships. It strengthens them because you are no longer measuring every action against an impossible standard. You become more resilient, less reactive, and better prepared to value genuine commitment without making your inner peace dependent on promises that no human being can guarantee for a lifetime. Words have an incredible ability to inspire confidence, but they are also the easiest thing to give away. Anyone can promise support, speak about loyalty, or claim they will never leave your side. In moments of comfort and convenience, people often make sincere-sounding commitments because they genuinely believe they mean them. However, the true measure of character is not found in emotional conversations or impressive promises. It is revealed through repeated actions, especially when keeping those promises requires effort, sacrifice, or inconvenience. This is why actions reveal the truth more clearly than words ever can. Imagine two people. One constantly tells you how important you are, but disappears whenever you need help. The other rarely makes grand declarations, yet consistently shows up during difficult moments, keeps their commitments, and treats you with respect over time. The second person may say less, but their behavior speaks with far greater authority. Actions cannot hide behind beautiful language. They expose priorities, values, and intentions in a way that words never can. Consistency is the strongest form of evidence. A single kind act or one generous gesture does not define someone's character, just as one mistake does not define it either. What matters is the pattern. People reveal themselves through habits that repeat over weeks, months, and years. Someone who repeatedly keeps their word, respects your boundaries, and remains dependable during both success and hardship is showing you who they truly are. On the other hand, someone who repeatedly breaks promises, disappears when things become difficult, or only appears when they need something is revealing a different truth, regardless of what they continue to say. Learning to trust actions instead of promises protects you from unnecessary disappointment. It encourages patience instead of blind faith and observation instead of assumption. Rather than becoming emotionally attached to what people claim they will do, you begin evaluating what they actually do. This shift helps you build stronger relationships because your trust is based on evidence rather than hope. Over time, you realize that genuine loyalty is not announced through speeches or dramatic promises. It is quietly demonstrated through consistent behavior, reliable choices, and the willingness to remain true even when no one is watching. Self-reliance is one of the greatest forms of strength because it places your emotional stability, confidence, and direction in your own hands instead of leaving them dependent on other people. Many individuals unknowingly build their happiness around the belief that someone will always support them, defend them, or remain loyal no matter what happens. While strong relationships are valuable, making them the foundation of your peace creates vulnerability. The moment someone changes, walks away, or fails to meet your expectations, your confidence begins to collapse because it was built on another person's presence rather than your own inner strength. Being self-reliant does not mean refusing help or isolating yourself from others. It means developing the ability to move forward even when support is unavailable. A self-reliant person appreciates loyalty but does not rely on it for survival. They understand that people have their own ambitions, responsibilities, and struggles, and those priorities may change over time. Instead of demanding constant reassurance from others, they invest in skills, knowledge, discipline, and emotional resilience that no one can take away. These qualities become a source of lasting confidence because they remain under personal control, financial independence, emotional maturity, and the ability to solve problems without depending entirely on someone else's approval are powerful examples of self-reliance. When challenges arise, a self-reliant person asks, "What can I do?" instead of waiting for someone else to rescue them. They focus their energy on improving themselves rather than blaming others for not meeting expectations. This mindset reduces fear because they know they possess the ability to adapt, recover, and continue growing, regardless of changing circumstances. Ironically, self-reliance also improves relationships. When you stop expecting others to carry your emotional burdens or guarantee your security, your connections become healthier and more genuine. You appreciate people for who they are instead of clinging to them out of fear of being alone. Loyalty becomes something you value rather than something you desperately need. True confidence comes from knowing that while trustworthy people can enrich your journey, your purpose, stability, and future are ultimately built by your own choices, effort, and resilience, not by someone else's permanent presence. One of the hardest realities to accept is that people do not remain the same throughout their lives. Every person is constantly shaped by new experiences, successes, failures, responsibilities, relationships, and personal ambition. As these factors change, so do their priorities, beliefs, and decisions. Yet, many people expect others to remain exactly as they were when the relationship first began. They hold on to an old version of someone while ignoring the fact that time changes everyone. Accepting this truth is essential because resisting it often leads to frustration, resentment, and unnecessary disappointment. Think about how much your own life has changed over the years. The goals you once chased may no longer interest you. The people you spent every day with may now be distant memories. Your opinions, habits, and dreams have likely evolved as you gained more experience. If you have changed, it is only reasonable to expect that everyone else has changed as well. The mistake is assuming that another person's loyalty, attention, or priorities should remain frozen in time simply because your expectations have not changed. This does not mean every change is negative. Sometimes people grow into better versions of themselves, taking on greater responsibilities or pursuing opportunities that demand more of their time and energy. Other times, they simply discover new paths that no longer align with yours. Their decision to move in a different direction is not always a personal rejection. It is often a reflection of where life has taken them. Understanding this helps you respond with maturity instead of bitterness. Accepting change also teaches flexibility. Instead of trying to control people or hold them to promises made under different circumstances, you learn to appreciate relationships for what they are in the present. You stop measuring people against the past and begin evaluating them based on their current actions and values. This perspective allows you to let go with dignity when necessary and welcome new connections without carrying old disappointments. Life becomes less about forcing permanence and more about adapting wisely. The strongest individuals are not those who keep every relationship unchanged forever, but those who understand that change is an unavoidable part of life and respond to it with clarity, resilience, and emotional balance. Trust is often mistaken for something that should be given freely, while respect is sometimes confused with unquestioning loyalty. In reality, the strongest relationships are built on mutual respect, not blind trust. Blind trust assumes that someone will always do the right thing simply because you believe in them. Mutual respect, however, is earned through consistent behavior, honesty, accountability, and consideration for one another. It recognizes that every person is capable of making mistakes, changing priorities, or acting in their own interests. Instead of ignoring these possibilities, respect acknowledges them while creating a healthy foundation for genuine trust to grow over time. When people place blind trust in someone, they often stop paying attention to actions. They overlook broken promises, excuse repeated dishonesty, and ignore warning signs because they are emotionally attached to the image they have created. This makes them vulnerable to disappointment, not because trust itself is wrong, but because it was offered without evidence. Respect works differently. It encourages patience and observation. Rather than assuming someone's character based on words alone, it allows time to reveal who they truly are through consistent choices and dependable actions. Mutual respect also creates balance in relationships. It means both people value each other's time, opinions, boundaries, and dignity. They communicate honestly, take responsibility for their mistakes, and avoid manipulating one another for personal gain. Neither person demands absolute loyalty or unquestioning obedience. Instead, both understand that trust is strengthened through reliability and weakened through repeated inconsistency. This approach removes unrealistic expectations and replaces them with standards that are fair and achievable. Choosing respect over blind trust also protects your emotional well-being. You become less likely to ignore red flags simply because you want the relationship to succeed. At the same time, you avoid becoming overly suspicious because your confidence is based on observation rather than fear. Relationships become healthier because they are grounded in reality instead of fantasy. People who genuinely deserve your trust will naturally earn it through their actions, while those who do not will reveal themselves over time. Respect creates space for trust to develop honestly, making your connections stronger, wiser, and far more resilient than relationships built only on unquestioned belief.